Welcome, everyone. You are either watching or listening to one of the most important and popular podcasts dealing with addiction and recovery. We call it Odyssey House Journals. My name is Randall Carlisle. I'm your host. And we focus on all aspects of addiction and recovery, hopefully to provide hope for people who either have addicted loved ones or if you're in addiction yourself, to show that recovery is possible for anybody. And our guest today is Aaron. I don't want to scare you, but we got some new analytics in. And 1 year ago, we were asking people watching the podcast on YouTube for 1,000 subscribers. And we asked for, if you're watching this, hit that little button that says subscribe. And it quickly jumped to 5,000 subscribers. And now we're up to 7,500 subscribers.
Oh, wow.
And that's just people hitting subscribe. So we urge you, if you are watching, just to hit that button. So let's talk a little recovery. Aaron, you are in recovery, right?
Yes, I am.
How long? What's your background?
So I've got, let's see, I went to court yesterday, got drug court, and they've been helping me keep track. So 93 days is how many days I have sober. My background is what really seems to take me down is crystal methamphetamine. And before this last relapse, I had a what I thought was a pretty good handle on it. Ended up working for a local smaller rental car agency where we did sales, service, and rentals, and it was a great job. I had my life going exactly how I wanted it, and ended up getting engaged to a woman, and on our honeymoon, we had about 7 years of sobriety at that point.
Between both of you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, I think she had about 5 years because I had done some incarceration time, and so I had a little bit longer than her. And so, but when I got out and we were together, we decided to do it, sober. And we had a really good run, and everything was going great. We purchased a home in West Valley. We owned all of our own cars. We're in a great financial spot. We're a great team. And we decided when we were on our honeymoon that maybe we should just allow ourselves to drink, Okay. And so we went out to Daytona Beach, and we had a great time. We did all the tourist things. We didn't have an itinerary. We just decided from one day to the next what we wanted to do. So, and while we were there was no negative consequence, Nothing bad happened. We didn't get in any fights. But what that did is that allowed that door to open, that creak open a little bit. And then we allowed ourselves to do one small thing after one small thing. And before you knew it, we were fighting, which was really strange because we really didn't have any arguments before that.
But you bring in drugs and alcohol, and chaos and drama always follows.
It always does, yeah. Mm-hmm. And
so was she into meth when you guys met, or when she was in recovery? Was she before that?
We actually met in a pretty dark place. Now, before I did the incarceration time,
okay,
we were together, and then we had some struggles going through that time period. And then when I was released, I decided to ask my family for some help to help me get into a sober living. I figured paroling to a sober living would be the best option for me. And it really was a blessing. And she swore she wanted to be there with me and do the sober thing too. And so we started right then going to meetings and becoming active in the recovery circle. I ended up starting a moving business while there with some friends from that sober living. And really everything kind of fell in line right when it needed to. And that was part of the blessing of my family helping me out. I had my mom, my sister, and my grandmother. They each paid a month of rent there. And so
Wow.
it allowed me to kind of ease back into things and not be so stressed out financially. And then from there, I had a lot of opportunities that just kind of seemed to just fall in my lap, and just go the right way. And
So
when you're
things
sober,
are going great for you. You're on your honeymoon.
Yeah.
And why? You had to have known that you were sort of playing with fire when you both agreed that, well, we can drink. Even though we're meth addicts in recovery, we can drink.
yeah.
And you had to know that that was somewhat dangerous.
And yeah, we did. We did. That's why early on we were super strict. We didn't give ourselves any gray area, And I think we got to a point where we thought we had it licked, we had it whooped, and it wasn't the case. It just allowed everything to open up, and I'm pretty good at destroying everything when I'm in those periods of time.
That's a good. I'm glad you're talking about this story, because I think a lot of people think about it. If somebody asked you what your drug of choice was, you'd say meth, right?
Yes.
Okay, but alcohol seems to open a door or lower your sensitivities to the fact that you're a meth addict.
Right.
And well, maybe a little meth would be okay too.
Yeah.
After you've had a few drinks, right?
Yep. So basically the chain of events were the drinking, and then from the drinking, we started going to the bars with friends, and then a little bit of cocaine. And anybody not familiar with cocaine, it's not as strong as meth. So it kind of tickled that urge, for the meth, and then just had me consistently thinking, about getting to the high that I wanted to be at,
Right.
which was, and as soon as I get to that point, my moral compass goes out the window, and it's not a good.
I don't think what people realize, we talk a lot about the fact that relapse is part of recovery. And one of the reasons that people relapse is because no matter how long you've been clean, your brain remembers that high that you were getting. Like I remember, I'm 14 years since I've had a drink, but I remember, my brain will remember, if I would have one drink right now, my brain would go, wowie, I remember this. This was fun. Let's have a few more drinks. And that's the way you're describing, you did some cocaine, which is a speedy kind of thing, and not as strong as meth, but it reminded your brain of what you used to do. God, and I hope that gives people a little understanding as to the disease of addiction, because it's very cunning. What do they say in the big book? Cunning, baffling, powerful.
Right.
So you guys both relapsed, right?
Yeah.
And you're fighting and everything else. So how did you end up coming back into treatment?
And I'm glad you brought up the big book, because I think, I always enjoyed going to meetings. I got so much from them, but I never did the steps. And I think that's one of the things that was missing in my life, where I didn't have somebody that was like-minded, where I was accountable for, or to. So now this time I have a sponsor. I'm going to be doing the steps. Because before, if I were to tell anybody at work, I would have just been fired. I was in a white-collar job. Yeah, if I was voicing the kind of feelings that I was having or I was open enough to let them know my history, and immediately I'm sure they would have been guarded, and I would have lost my position. And
Right.
so just off of that. So I think for me, having somebody that is going to be able to because I'll speak for myself. A big thing for me is sneaky behavior. So once I start using, it's a big secret, and I can fly under the radar pretty good. Until my body's shutting down, basically, where I'm falling asleep because I've been up too long, or I'm not making sense. And those moments are when I'm no longer able to pull a cover over it,
Right.
But to get to that time, I can manage for quite a while, like months and months and months. And so, whereas if I were to be in that community, how AA is set up or NA is set up, where there's somebody that's like-minded that is like, hey, whoa, you're not making sense. From week to week, they're going to be calling me on my stuff. So
You think you're making sense, but
Right,
you have
exactly.
an outside observer who knows you are not.
And so at the same time, I was losing good people out of my life. I wasn't replacing them with better people. I was replacing them with knuckleheads that would help me further my addiction.
So how did you did you have more problems with the law, or how did you get into the current treatment program you're in?
Yeah. So this path that I've recently been on, my story is pretty in depth, but when I was young, I tried to assist my brother from gaining time in the federal court system, and I took possession of something and ended up doing a bunch of time that wasn't really mine. And so I became familiar with the federal court system and just how much different it is than the state courts. And that was kind of my, sick to say, but my college at some point, right? I'm not the type of individual that would ever steal from my family, steal money or steal property. I justified it to myself to steal from businesses, and a lot of my crimes would be after hours burglaries, where there was nobody there, but either smash and grabs from jewelry stores or cutting locks and getting in, and that's how I would attain items to sell for drugs. When I got to that point, because you get to a certain point where you're no longer employable. Drugs are really expensive. How are you going to come up with this money to then attain the drugs? And really what it was just a means to continue being high. And so I figured out ways to break into businesses, and to me, I would justify them. I'm not really doing that bad a thing because, the insurance is paying for it, but the rates are going to go up. The customer's going to end up paying for it. It's not like a victimless crime, like I tried to convince myself of. But those are the things that you try and do to still be able to face yourself in the mirror sometimes. And so with this, I ended up having a situation with a friend who ended up kind of losing it. I'm not sure it seems a lot more and more. Mental health has been a real side by side with drug use, especially in the methamphetamine world.
Right.
Lack of sleep and paranoia and things like that. Psychosis, yeah. And I had a guy that really was threatening my life. And he was a friend at one point. And I was selling my home, and he thought that a bottle of Fabuloso, some spray that you would clean with. I just bought some cleaner to clean the home to show it. And he was convinced that bottle of Fabuloso meant that me and his girlfriend had been together. And it was so odd to me.
Which makes no sense.
It makes no sense. The next day it was a piece of 4x4 that was in my backyard that must have been from her mom's house. And these connections that he was making were so crazy. And so I tried to do what I could, because I thought it was a mental, I thought it was medically, he was going through something, and I'm sure he was. But at the same time, he became a kind of a dangerous individual in my life. And unfortunately, with my history, we're not allowed a lot of options like body armor or things like that are no-goes. But I felt I was in a situation while also doing meth myself, right? Which is not good. But I was carrying around some firearms, and so I got to a point where I got arrested, bonded out, and every time I had a girlfriend this was after me and my wife were no longer together. I had a girlfriend that she ended up, I think there was a reward on one of these, and most of the times my things were making the news, right?
Really?
Yeah. And so
in my previous life, I may have reported on you.
You probably did.
Okay.
I should probably say you probably did. But one of these had a reward with him, and then I came back to her place, and she had called and had like an ambush set up, and with that she gave them the tools I was using, because I had kind of like a MO, I guess, a modus operandus on how I was doing things, right, with my clothing. And she gave them my tools. And so what ended up happening with that is I would go to court. And when I would go to court after bonding out, they'd arrest me on this other case because, it was tied to it, had similarities or whatever. And so I was just trying to get through it at the same time dealing with craziness, right? And my life was in shambles. It really was. And at one of the points, I got to the county jail, and my phone was dead. And I don't know how many of you remember people's numbers, but I don't know anybody's number. So I got stuck there for a month and a half until I became friends with somebody, and his mother came and picked up my phone, charged it, and got me some numbers off of it, where I was able to be bailed out. But in that time frame, I asked my attorney to put me in for drug court, and so I got approved for drug court, and they gave me a date, right? They gave me a date that I had to be to drug court, and that was going to be, as long as I could get to that date and not have anything else pop up, and just basically make it there, then that I knew that things would be okay, And it was almost like running a marathon, where at the end I was a babbling idiot in front of this judge, because I got into a high-speed chase the night before, where I was running from the cops and I was hidden out in the avenues just trying to make this court date. Because if I didn't get to that court date, then these new charges would be popped up and I'd be stuck. You know what I mean? And for me, with my history, I knew with the firearms that they had, we're talking decades. And so there was
decades in prison.
In prison.
In federal prison or state?
In federal prison.
Okay.
And that's why I brought that up about knowing about the prison system, because what they do is they have a classification, right? And so with my classification of where I would be, I'd be in a very dangerous facility. And these types of places, I had told some people about it. It's another story entirely, but it was probably like right before that court date that I was able to get into. I had a moment where I was going to go suicide by cop, and because I thought, I've got decades over me. I'm looking at a facility they would put me in where it's 5 o'clock, you wake up, you're ready for war. And I'm not exaggerating anything. It's you have somebody that sits outside the shower with a knife, ready to stab somebody if they come for you in the shower. I don't want to live like that, and that's not. I've seen people come out of these places and they're not the same individual.
Sure.
And so with all of this and the depression and, I was in a dark, dark place. I had a house that was being surrounded at the time. And as they were surrounding the house, I only had half of the footage from the security system. I was recording it on my phone just to give my family or my kids knowledge of what actually happened.
Who surrounded? Law officers?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a major crimes unit was surrounding the home, and that's when they got the weapons from an open window of my vehicle, and they were able to see a portion of it.
And this happened. I'm trying to get this straight. Your girlfriend actually turned you in so she could collect reward money.
Yeah. So there's moments where I would bond out and then come back out. Right.
Not much of a girlfriend.
No, not much of a girlfriend at all.
So we've got about 7 minutes left. So you get to drug court, and then they send you to Odyssey House. Is that how it worked, or?
Yeah. So drug court basically got there that morning
After an all-night chase.
After a all-night chase. Yep. And actually, in these shoes, my girlfriend had dropped them off, but when I got them, they were filled with mud because it was pouring that night. It was
Jesus.
Yeah, it was hidden under a car. Yeah. So it was. And so when I saw the judge, I really couldn't even speak, right? I was broken down, and she made me aware that I still had charges out of another county, and until we could get that taken care of, I needed to get myself into treatment. So I went from there to VOA and sat there for a couple of days in detox, and then Odyssey House just happened to come asking people if they would consider going to Odyssey House, and
Sure.
And I figured this is part of my path anyway, and so I volunteered to go, and have been doing everything I can to get these core issues that I need to get figured out and get worked out, so I can be a better me, hopefully a better father, hopefully a better son, brother, and
It's the first step to doing that, obviously, and even though your brain's always going to remember the feeling of meth, deep down inside that you can't be any of those things if you're using meth, right?
Right, exactly.
Yep.
And really, yeah. So I had I had a turning point where, when it all went and we decided to get a divorce. I think that's when I just threw everything and just watched it burn. And anything that had anything to do with that relationship, I didn't want anything to do with. But I'm happy to say that I feel little glimpses coming back. It's almost, I was really down on myself for a minute because once again I'm starting over.
Right.
And it's tough to feel, that once again here I go. But I started like thinking about it like in a sense of living different lives, and I never know where it's going to take me. So this next opportunity, I hope to get a little bit more successful and just, happier and, just get new experiences in life and whether it be good or bad and trying to do the best I can with them.
You going to make it this time?
Yeah. I really think some of the things that I was lacking, it's like a software update on your phone,
So you got the new, whatever it is, 7.3.
Right, yeah. So there was just a few things. I mean, I had life pretty good. Was able to purchase a home out of prison and have a great, there's just, once I can get it dialed in, just perfect, then maybe I'll stop this pattern. And hopefully this is my last time. I look forward to it, but I definitely appreciate the opportunity Odyssey House gives me, especially working with Manny and Linda over at procurement. It makes me feel like an individual again.
Sure.
Feeling productive and there's something about doing service work. It gives you a sense of pride in yourself.
Sure. And we all need that.
Yeah, most definitely. Especially coming out of the holidays and, we can get really down on ourselves. But I do really appreciate everybody in this recovery community. It's a road, and I hope to be a part of it, a positive part of it. I've been trying to do everything I can to be helpful to my peers and, not a negative force in this. So
describe how you feel being in recovery and sober as opposed to being high and running in darkness and everything. How do you feel?
So most days I feel great. I try not to bang myself up too much about the past.
You can't do anything about the past. Right. You can't change it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's something that happened. And I've just, I've got to learn from it, and I think for me, understanding that this is just another opportunity, not an excuse to do it over again, right? But an opportunity to get it right, an opportunity to see where this next branch of life takes me to. I mean, I've been some pretty cool places from these 0 states where, I'll end up in Alaska or roughnecking in Colorado or hopping a freight train when I was younger, you know what I mean? And so these are all life experiences that a lot of other people don't have that I really reflect on and enjoy. And most of the times when you're going through the hardest things, it's when you remember them the most, you cherish them the most. Whenever we had a road trip that there was never an issue, you don't remember those, but you remember the ones where you broke down, and you know what I mean? There was issue after issue, and those happen to be the ones you learn from the most and grow from the most. So
I hope you make it, and I thank you. We're out of time. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks, Randall.
And I hope you provide hope and comfort to people who are, seeking the same path as yours. So awesome. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
And thank you for either watching or listening to another edition of Odyssey House Journals.